everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's panel discussion. I would like to invite my panelists here. May I have Ms. Danping Dong from Singapore Management University, Dr. Munawar Khalil from University of Indonesia, and Dr. Vivek Deshmukh from Vishwakarma Institute of Information Technology. Please come. I'm going to take the seat as well. Wonderful. Thank you so much once again for accepting our invitation to be in this panel. So we will start the discussion focused around global perspective. And I would like to I would like to request all of you to have a quick introduction about yourself and your institute. Yes, can we start with Ms. Dumping?
I think it's not working. Yeah. Okay. Hello? Okay. So my name is Dan Ping. I'm from Singapore Management University. We are like the third university in Singapore. We have 7 universities in Singapore in total. But the big, large 2 ones that you may have heard about is National University of Singapore and Nanyang Technological University. So these are the more higher up in the ranking. My role is research and data services because we are a relatively small team. So our roles are practically everywhere. IR is like part of my job, and another important part of my job is around research data management. So I also manage the data repository in my institution. And aside from that, recently some of our efforts or new initiatives are around supporting researchers throughout the research lifecycle. So besides the end, whereby we help them archive their research and make them open access and archive their data and so on, we also work on initiatives around helping them with the analysis and also computational methods of research. So some of the new interesting things happening. Yeah. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dumping. Yes, Dr. Munawar Khalil.
Thank you, Priyanka. Thanks for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Munawar Khalil. I'm a chemist by training, actually. So currently, I'm the Director of Research and Development at the University of Indonesia. So my responsibility is basically facilitating research activities at the university for the whole faculty and schools, including publications. And I'm also serving as one of the editorial member at one of the journals that we facilitate, which also in the digital common platforms called Makara Journal of Science. Thank you very much.
Hello. Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Vivek Deshpande. I'm from Vishwakarma Institutes. I'm the director over there for technology, and having the different technologies in the industries and in the research organization has to be inculcated in the academics. So that is what my job role is. Our main focus is the engineering institutes, but along with that, we also have the pharmacy, the law, architecture, arts, science, commerce, the different courses. And we are located in Pune. Pune is in India. It's very near to Mumbai, if you know Mumbai, and called as a educational hub of India. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that very nice introduction. We have heard a lot from the other panels about how institutional repositories are used and how they function in this part of the world. And I was very curious to know, since we come from APAC and we took a 15-hour flight to be here, and all of us are here for the first time. So I think it would be great if you all can share like how institutional repositories function in that region. And I would like to give that question to Ms. Dumping. Yeah.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier on, we have like 7 institutions. Not all of us have an institutional repository at this point of time. I think it's pretty much a common observation or trend that usually the larger institutions with the larger libraries, they have a technical team to support everything. So what they are doing now is they're all open source. They're either on DSpace or Dataverse, this kind of open source platforms, which I would think is ideal for libraries, but unfortunately, because of the small size of my institution and the limited amount of support that we can have, platforms like Digital Commons or Figshare is actually the general kind of a direction that we will usually go to. Like we will opt for cloud-hosted, service-based kind of solution. So, I mean, in Singapore, I think the open access start to pick on after the 2002, after the Budapest Open Access Agreement has been signed, which I didn't know of is before my time, but I think that's when it actually gets started. I think after that, I think one of our first repositories was probably implemented around the year of 2007 or 8, around that time. And then for SMU itself, we started our own repository in 2010. So by now, it's already like 14, 15 years. I would think, like in Singapore, what has been happening is that a lot of things are happening on the ground in the libraries. I'm not entirely sure about the US and other places, but my impression is that there are more national policies or funder policies that kind of push for open access and open data initiatives. Whereas in Singapore, I kind of feel like we are on our own. Like a lot of the things are being initiated by the library, and we are working on different things, and then we showcase the value of this open access and open data to other people, and we talk to Office of Research and so on and so forth. So it's like kind of there's a different kind of path that we take in open access, but we are more or less there. Like open access is pretty common thing in my country now. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Dumping. So Singapore Management University has been using Digital Commons for 14 years, and we are very proud of our association with them. For my other two panelists, they are using Digital Commons more for publishing journals. In our part of the world, journal publishing is really very greatly accepted, and Digital Commons is one of the key platforms which is supporting the publishing initiative in those countries. So with that respect, I think I would like to ask to other two panelists more towards the question on, what are the key factors that shape the scholarly communication needs in your region? So yeah, I can start with you.
All right, thank you. So perhaps would like just to share with you briefly how we end up with Digital Commons initially. So we've been using Digital Commons and we collaborate with Priyanka since 2019, if I'm not mistaken, right? So out of 4, as Priyanka mentions, out of 4 features in Digital Commons, so we currently utilizing the Digital Commons journals to facilitate publications. So in Indonesia, there is I think there is a need for researchers and students to publish their works and their studies in journal in terms of journal publications. And previously we have our own OJS, which I think the benefit we have been putting this in a case study. If you're interested to read our case study in Elsevier, you can also access to that. So one of the things that we feel that is most beneficial of us using Digital Commons Journal is the security, because we have been experiencing cyber attacks multiple times to our previous OJS, which resulting in some of our archives publication, because we have a journal that have been around for like 20 years, so in the 90s and the 80s. Some of the archives have gone missing. You can recollect that, and by having Digital Commons journals, it really help us on the security in the first place. That's number one. Number two is the streamlined process. So I think that's the another beneficial advantages of having Digital Commons journals in facilitating journal publication. So as a result, I think we currently have, in total, we have 81 journals within the universities. We are a very comprehensive universities. We have Faculty of Medicines all the way to Faculty of Economy, Political Science, Humanities, and things like that. So we have journals from its faculties and its departments. And by having Digital Commons as a platforms for publications, we are able to push forward the quality of our journals to be indexed in a word reputable indexing platform like Scopus. Even 2 of our journals has been indexed in a top tier journal, Q1 journal. So I think by having Digital Commons, it really improve and facilitate our reputations in a global market.
Thank you so much. Just to share, University of Indonesia has been using Digital Commons, and they have around 40 journals on the platform. And we have a case study and all of these journals have migrated from OJS. So yeah, thank you so much, and we are constantly working with them. I had some follow-up question, but I'll keep it for the next round. And I let Dr. Vivek share more about, how they think, what are the key factors that is affecting scholarly publication.
Yeah. There are multiple reasons why we are coming to the DC. There are different challenges. Even if you know the Indian scenario over there, there are multiple rankings available, like a QS ranking for the entire world, right? So we are also having the national ranking called as NIRF, National Ranking Framework. For that, the focus has to be the academics as well as the focus has to be research as well. Prior to this, our institute or university is only targeting the academic kind of structures. But now we have to target the research structure as well. So the multiple faculties are coming with multiple publications, right? So, and there are multiple tools available to manage those kind of repositories. Might be the publication, might be the PPTs, might be the videos, might be the patents or theses. I'm talking about the soft copies and hard copies both. And then we are coming with kind of DC, and I think 5 to 7 months back, right? We are very new to DC, and now we are publishing some journals on the DC, 5 journals. The one journal is already there with us with the 5 years with the OJS, and we are also now migrating those to the DC. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So just elaborating on what both Dr. Manawar Khalil and Dr. Vivek said. So journal publishing is one of the key initiatives from all the universities, and it is aligned with improving ranking in institutes. And ranking is a big factor in that part of the region, and every nation has its own individual ranking system along with the global QS and THE. And that is one of the reasons that journal published and hosted and managed on Digital Commons platform has somehow influenced better ranking for the institute. I have a quick question. I'll move back to Ms. Dumping and to the IR conversation. And I wanted to check with her that, it's been long that you have been using Digital Commons. So what were the challenges when you first started with it? And, what are the benefits, and how do you think, how things have progressed over the period of time since you have started using Digital Commons as an institutional repository?
In terms of the challenges, when we first started, I can only tell stories from old papers because I didn't know what happened that time. But it's kind of, I guess, Digital Commons, like this kind of IRs is like, over time, things become easier and easier as you build up your branding and people know about Inc. Our repository name is called Inc. And they receive monthly dashboard emails to tell you, how many downloads you have gathered in the past month and all that. So all of this helps to make things a lot easier now as compared to back then. So I think at the initial point of time, the engagement is probably one of the key things that librarians have to do to kind of build up the initial collection and build up the momentum. And in terms of the second part is about benefits, right? Okay,
yes, I would love to know that, over the period of time, how the IR has developed, like and what kind of benefits you see has come from using the institutional repository.
Yeah, I guess one of the key things, we are a very pragmatic country, so we care about all the metrics, the downloads, and these kind of things. So basically, we are we will usually celebrate milestones of every 1 million downloads. And one thing I noticed is that it has taken shorter and shorter time to achieve that goal. So we always, like every 1 million, we'll actually have an email celebration telling the faculty, we have 1 million downloads and our boss will take us out for lunch and all that kind of things. So basically, it's a way to celebrate, and it's also a way to kind of the branding is there, and the researchers are happy with the platform, the amount of visibility and impact it has brought to their research publications. And this also aligns with the institutional goal. One of our Office of Vice Provost for Research was, he with us, I think maybe 2 years back. So he was actually very supportive of some of the library's initiatives, including our institutional repository, because we just shared with him, the amount of visibility and the amount of citation impact. Possibly, like in a way, it's possible that there is an open access advantage and all that. So he believed in that, and we do place quite a bit of emphasis in terms of pushing this out to our faculty members. And I think our full text rate in our repository is pretty high. It's around 70% of our publications are actually available as PDF full text, which brought us quite a bit of downloads and usage in terms of our research publications. I would say that good search engine optimization and discoverability is one of the key things that we appreciate for Digital Commons. And another thing will be the author dashboard. It's a simple feature, but it's something that I think really, sometimes we do get questions from our faculty members. I would like to put up this on ink. Like they'll just pass their full text to us and ask us to upload, which does help to build up the collection in the long term as well. Yeah. So
thank you. And we actually covered a part of it in one of the case studies we did almost 4 years back with Singapore Management University, which also incorporates a lot of things that Dumping has shared with us. My next question was around global visibility and how IRs in our region is able to play a part in the global equity research that we are doing. So I think you have answered in terms of search engine optimization. I would like to bring this question to Dr. Munawar Khalil, that you talked about ranking and you talked about visibility. So when it comes to scholarly publication, how do you think the platforms that you're using for hosting your research publication, whether it is in journals, is kind of bringing more visibility, and has it influenced better collaboration, receiving more funding? So do you see a correlation? And if you see, what is it? We would love to know that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, number one, by having, like I mentioned before, one of the things that we feel the benefits of having our journals in digital common journals is we are able to push the quality upward of some of our journals. Initially using the traditional OGS, because if in order for a journal to be indexed in a certain type of indexing, like Scopus, right? There is a certain type of criteria for you to be indexed in that. Later on, to be listed in a top tier, for example, which is the top 25% of journal publications. By having your journals, I think this is something that can push forward our reputations in a global market as well. That's definitely help us to increase the visibility of our institutions, things like that. And because when we're talking about rankings, right, they have a metrics on justifications of both academic and research reputations. The research reputations, for example, or academic reputation is done typically by survey, and by having your journals, exposed in a top tier, they will know that this institution has a better reputation as well. That's number one. And also, there is a correlation as in the policy of the government, which I think happened to be implemented in India and in the Southeastern Asia countries as well, that improving the quality of publications, not only the quantity but also the quality of the journals. So I think our institution, of course, is also on the process of shifting the paradigm in improving the numbers of journal publications, but also the quality. Not only publishing more articles, but also publishing in the top journals. So I think that's something that really correlates. By using digital commons in the publishing platforms. Another thing, I think this is something that also relates to the IR, that we could definitely use the data generated in the IR to take some policies. For examples, I know that you mentioned about the the metrics, right? So the 1 million downloads or things like that or whatever. But we could also we have been using, even though our institutions have our own IR platforms traditionally, which is handled by our library, but we have been using Pio as a sort of IR as well. So whereby each researchers can upload their what we call as a non-traditional scholarly outputs. For examples like policy briefs, opinions in the newspapers. This is for those who are in the social sciences background. So we could use those data to analyze impacts, to drive any particular policies they would like to, for example, emphasize on a particular topics, for example, to identify trending topics and things like that. So I think it's really important for us, especially for myself, which is responsible for the research directions of the university.
Thank you. Dr. Vivek, I have a very different question. So Vishwakarma Institute is a private institute, and it's a young institute in Pune. And they have recently started with digital commons and have started with publishing. So I have a question that, when it comes to, and I know that you're looking for improving ranking, and that was one step, but you also are thinking of CRIS system. So how do you align the IR and the CRIS system in your institute?
For that, earlier we had a SLIM platform, SLIM. It's a common platform in India where all library data has to be posted on. So, but that is a private for each and every individual colleges. Now, along with the faculty, what happens if there is an accreditation process, if there is a ranking process, the same data has to be used, but the format has to be a different one. So the faculty, the cumbersome job is, you have to upload each and the same data, the multiple times. So there won't be any interoperability of, the multiple platforms like a SLIM, like we have our own ERP, like we have our own online learning platform systems. Everything has a data, but those are not interconnected. So might be I'm just now in the morning session or even yesterday's sessions heard that or learned that with the IR we can have a interoperability within these platforms. So that can be possible for us once the data uploaded. That has to be visualized to maybe the archive and to the multiple accreditation and the NRF bodies. So that is what I'm thinking for IR as a platform for us to lessen the the mundane job of the faculties, and faculty can concentrate on more on the research. Thank you.
Thank you. I was just now at the topic conversation, and I was on the table taking notes for student success. And I wanted to check with Ms. Dumping that every IR has a very special collection, right? Every IR custodian is thinking of one collection which is their special. So what is that special collection for SMU? That's one question. And I'll couple it with the second one as well, that you also have student work and student theses. So if you could let us know more about, like the challenges that you faced in terms of building that collection in your IR.
In terms of one special collection, honestly I cannot think of just one. There are several that's a bit special to our university. I'll just take one example maybe. Like we have a case collection, which is written by writers from our Center for Management Practices, together with our faculty members. So they basically write cases about organizations, mainly in Asia. Those teaching cases that faculty can use as teaching material in their class. It's a bit like Harvard business cases, but it's more like the SMU and Asian version of it. So these cases are on ink, and it's freely accessible to SMU faculty to use for teaching. But there's also a version that's like Harvard Business Case. You have to pay for the use in classrooms. So I would think this is one of the more impactful collections that we have based on the amount of downloads and the usage of this collection. And it has the special kind of knowledge in these cases, which is like, specific to Asia. Your next question is about student success, right?
Student work.
So we do have ETD, the electronic thesis and dissertations, and as well as some of the student publications. We have a law school. So our law school has this student club called Lexicon, and they are publishing their own journal. And this journal is currently hosted on Inc. as a collection. So as for ETD, we actually don't use Ink directly for that purpose. So because you were talking about CRIS and IR, I think I just want to highlight that our CRIS is actually the main point of data sources, the main point of data entry. So our faculty members, also our PhD students, they will use the CRIS system to input all their information about the thesis, and it naturally flows to Ink via batch process, which I mentioned yesterday is always a pain point for us. We always love Digital Commons any other feature except for this one. This is the one that gives us a lot of pain. There's no API integration. It's not like so open, and the thing is made a little bit manual, and we can't do it automatically basically. So. Yeah, I totally agree with Dr. Vivek when he talked about like we have too many systems for faculty to use, and faculty, knowing faculty, they hate this kind of systems. And our CRIS system, they have to do a lot of manual data entry as well. They can import, but the import is also as painful as manual entry. So it's basically, I would think that things should be more streamlined. There should be either one system or the different systems should be integrated in a better way. We have, institutional repository, we have data repository, we have another system that's currently being implemented to manage faculty CV and faculty activities. So there are basically too many. I would think that in the future there should be less. And actually, that's one of the studies that we did kind of recently, because we have both Figshare and Digital Commons. We are thinking of, we should just get rid of one and just keep one of the repositories for both publications and data. So we are comparing the two platforms and all that. So it's one of the small research that we did. But we still didn't move because of the dependency between the different systems. So that's why we are still kind of have a lot of system at this point in time. But in the future, I would think, we will probably just streamline things a little bit more and make things easier for faculty, especially. They're very busy. They have their own priorities. We don't want to burden them with a lot of data entry or different point of data entry, different systems, and all the complications. Yeah.
Thank you, and we'll wait for that research and hope you publish it on the IR Inc.
We already did. We already published that, and it's pretty much similar in the sense of both are very discoverable in Google and Google Scholar. There isn't much of a difference between Figshare and Digital Commons in that regard. I would think Digital Commons is probably more optimized for publications in terms of collection management, in terms of all these nice features to have when IR, such as our favorite author dashboard and all that. And Figshare is a bit more simple. It's good, it's simple, but there are certain, our branding was already there as well, so we don't want to risk changing, and then people have to, relearn everything, and later on we may still change our CRIS, that kind of thing. So it's just, so I would think both are good in a certain way, in the most important way, which is its discoverability and search engine optimization. But if Digital Commons can be a bit more open, I think it will be also one of the great things to have for repository. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll move to Dr. Khalil now, and I'll change the conversation, change gears, and move to publications. So just to give you a context, in Indonesia, every university has more than 100 journals. And the government has incentive plans where they incentivize the researchers and the institute for publishing journals. And we are very fortunate that we're partnering with a lot of leading universities in Indonesia who are using Digital Commons for publishing journals. But there are challenges. And I would like to know that, I know that over a period of 3 years, you have 40 journals that are there, but how was the road and what are the challenges that you faced?
The main challenges is, I think, it's trying to convince people to move, because it's they're outside their comfort zones. All these editorial managers, they have been using OJS, their current OJS, for years, and then we would ask them to move their the processes into the new another OJS on digital commons. I think that's something that we experience is the most challenging one. But considering the benefits that I mentioned earlier, I think we were able to convince, like you said, out of 81, I think we have half of our journals have been using digital commons as platforms. That's perhaps the main challenges. Another thing that I can think of as a challenge is the transfer of the archives. I know that at some extent there is a interoperability between the OJS, main OJS, right? But for in our cases, some of our OJS is a self-made OJS. So they built their own OJS, which is not really compatible with digital commons. So it needs to be done manually and things like that. So I think it's really on the process and the hesitate of editorial members to take another step for them to embrace digital commons as a publishing platforms.
Thank you so much. And for you, I would like to understand that, what was your challenge in starting the project when you moved 4 of your journals to digital commons platform?
Frankly speaking, when we are switching from the academics to the research background, because of the accreditations and the ranking processes, the main hurdle is the funding for these kind of papers. So many nations now coming ahead with the incentivization for the publishing the papers. But in India, there is not case where the government can give the funding to publish the papers in some kind of journals or not. But institutes must be there or must aiming the ranking and the accreditation, right? So institute is now giving the incentivization to the faculty members to go for the publications. So that challenge will be overcome automatically by the funding from the institute itself. About the journals, the own journals, and that is why we are motivated to go for our own journals to publish it somewhere. Now somewhere, so DC is is the right platform for us to publish the journal and the elsewhere one. So that is how we came to overcome the challenge and came to the DC now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So Dampi, I wanted to also ask you that, is there any new scholarly, needs of your campus that you have been fulfilling with your IR? And if there is, what is it and, what you have done recently?
Okay, so in terms of our IR itself, it's actually pretty stable for a long time, and a lot of things are actually currently operational. But after you asked me this question, I was trying to think about interesting use cases, and I do realize there's quite an interesting request recently from a faculty. So he was emailing us that he has experienced some kind of plagiarism before during the publication process. I think he submitted to some journal, and somehow his research got forked by someone else. And so he was kind of quite concerned about this. And he was thinking of different solutions to use some kind of a DocuSign to timestamp it, or to use open repositories like Arxiv and SSRN to actually kind of date his paper itself. And then he came to us, and but he does have concerns over like Arxiv kind of repositories, is that they have to actually kind of make it open, and at this point of time, they're still not ready to actually make it openly available to the whole world. It's like they want some place that's a bit more controlled. That's when Ink actually came out as a suitable use case for in this case, because he's actually able to post the paper on Ink, and because it's an institutional repository, so we can actually control things like through embargo or to different kind of ways, and there's a version control and timestamp in that sense to say that this is his publication. So I would think this is something that we are going to we didn't really think about it before. We knew these kind of things are possible, but we didn't really think that there would be such a demand out there. So we're thinking of, like this is a new use case and we want to tell people about it. And so, there are new motivations for people to give their full text to the repository. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. And I think we are more than happy to see how your IR grows and what new collection comes in IR. So SMU's institutional repository has been like a leading example in the region as other institutes are venturing out into IR. So in our region, IR is still very internal focus. It runs on intranet. So when we came up with Digital Commons and talked about institutional repository to be a branding and a showcasing platform, that's, SMU's Inc. is always the platform that everybody focuses on and takes reference from. So thank you so much for that. I think I have time for just one last question. So to Dr. Khalil, I know that you were very excited being part of this conference, and I don't think he ever came to me talking about IR, but after attending this, he has been asking me a lot of questions about IR. And I know that, when I was preparing them, I didn't give them this question, but just impromptu, I want to ask that, what is this from the conference, the discussion we had yesterday and now that, you got interested in IR, and which particular feature is something that you are very keen on?
I think it's really related to my responsibility as a director of research and development, which is one of the things that we do is to what do you call it? Advise. It's similar like a data analysis on research that we can give inputs to the leaderships of the universities, which directions they would like to take on in the following years and related to the budget and things like that. So in the policy making, in a sense, so IR, I think is a very good tools for us to kind of integrate any scholarly outputs, not only journal publications, but like I mentioned, non-traditional research outputs, because at a very comprehensive universities like we do, like we are, I mean, we have especially for those who are in a social sciences background, it is very tough for us to kind of predict or depict the trajectory of the research, because oftentimes the type of publications, the type of scholarly output is in the form of not in journal articles. One researchers, they give an opinion of newspapers, and then on the current issues, policy briefs. We have this a department of philosophies that explore on the cultures of traditional cultures, and or dance, for example, some contemporary dance. So how we could use the IR to measure the impacts, and how we can improve the trajectories of research that have been doing by its faculty members. So I think that's really excites me, learning a lot about IRs, and I think I have a lot of things that I would like to report to our leaderships. Currently we are using Pure in a sense as a IR in the perspective of research. For the academics part, we are using what we call lontar. Lontar is an Indonesian word for it's a type of a plant. Back in the days, scholars write down not in papers but in lontar's leaves. So we use that as as a IR, institutional IR under the library, but it's very traditional, and it's mostly managing all these dissertations, theses, professors, the lectures, and things like that. So we are excited to kind of integrate this where we, would like to see if there is a relationship between what have been done in the research, fields and in academic fields. But because it must be there must be connections, right? So ideally, everything that professors do in research has to translate into academics, right? So the updates of their research activities must be translated into things that they teach at the classrooms. So I think that's something that I'm very excited about.
Thank you, and I hope we continue that conversation. I would like to thank you all for being in the panel, and I think I have done with the time here, and I would open the forum for questions that our panelists can take. Any questions for us?
Thank you so much. What a great panel. I've just been grabbing onto every word. I have a question for all three of you. And this kind of goes back to this idea that like the faculty are dealing with so many different systems. It's confusing. Like in your world, and I'll let whoever wants to answer it. What would be, if you were to wave a magic wand, kind of like what Tracy was talking about before, what would be an ideal experience for faculty members? So that all of these outputs could get realized and all of the benefits could get realized, but to minimize some of those pain points.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, maybe I can answer that first from our current experience with our CRIS system. So I would think ideally the system, of course, it's something that I would think is pretty basic is to be able to pull sources from other systems that's out there, from SSRN, from Scopus, from all the different data site, Crossref, and all the different data sources for publications, which is currently not quite there for our own CRIS system. But we are aware of that other system that's out there that do have such functionalities, and they're probably pretty good already. And I think one of the main pain points is also in terms of keying in their activities besides publications. So what kind of teaching they're doing, who are the PhD students that they're supervising, and to link all these kind of activities that's happening on campus. And also, if they are peer reviewers or editors for different journals. So all of this count towards their performance, and these are important information to have in a CRIS system. And as well as for our use case, we also use it to generate a CV, a faculty CV that's standard for SMU faculty members, based on all this information that we gather from different places. But at this point of time, it's mostly manual, and faculty hate it. They have to input these records one by one, and sometimes they don't do it because their school doesn't ask for it. So it depends on the school. If the school asks them to use it to generate their CV for annual tenure promotion and for annual review, then they will do it quite diligently, but otherwise they will never touch the system at all. But I would think a good system should make all of these things less painful, and it should be able to talk to different systems on campus, our HR database, our e-learn, our learning management systems, course management systems, to be able to pull information from different places and put it together instead of having to manually enter all this information. And maybe to connect with the larger scholarly communication infrastructure to in things like doing peer review, editors, and those kind of information should also be seamlessly integrated in the ideal world. And then after this, things will automatically flow to the IR, or maybe the CRIS is the IR itself, which is discoverable and helps to make things visible. So that's because I have so many pain with the current systems, so that's what I would imagine to be a much, much better world.
Thank you.
All right, so that's a tricky question. So as faculty members myself, I'm gonna answer your question by not answering your questions. So basically, yeah, I always said to my colleagues in the faculty and in other schools that it is a fact that there's so many platforms that we have to fill out, not only from the schools, the universities, the government, for many systems and platforms. And I think in terms of digital commons and pure especially, I always said that this is like your social media, so to use it to flex yourself. So because we need to flex in terms of the in academic fields, right? So in order to attract collaborations, attract fundings and things like that, you have to flex. You have to highlight yourselves. What type of publications that you have? What are you doing right now? It is impactful. So how do people really read your papers and things like that? So use that as a way to promote yourself, so CV and things like that. So and I love what they're doing at the University Erlangga, right? So using profiles and Pure and convert it as a QR code and put it in your business card. So every time you meet new people, get a new network or get connections, they immediately go to your Pure profiles, and which and another thing from the policy making perspective, like I mentioned earlier, that for the leaderships of the all these peoples are in the university management, so they could use the data generated and submitted and inputted by each faculty members for analyzing the direction and trajectory of research and academics. So yeah, it is what it is. You have to fill out that. But I think the main, I'm pretty sure, it seems like I'm gonna say the analog for that. We have a different type of phones, right? Somebody using iPhone, somebody's using Samsungs and Nokias and whatever, and they have a different chargers, right? Type of chargers. So it is good to have a very universal charger. So you can, if I forget to bring my chargers, you can just ask somebody to, the bottom line that the interoperability of the platform, the systems, is key, so that each system can talk to each other, so that it doesn't have to be redundant for the faculty members too. So I think that's pretty much what I would like to wish in the future.
Thank you. I think we have run out of time, but it's been wonderful interacting with all of you, and I think I can take my questions back. So yeah, thank you so much for listening to us.